Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming so early in the morning. Good to see everyone here rather than Simon's Mage Day talk in the Borough Theatre. So I'd like to announce, obviously, we've got a scheme that we're doing a bit of announcement this morning. So it's the Stevenage Borough Council Station Gateway scheme. And we've got three colleagues here who are going to run through, introduce themselves first, and then talk a little bit about the Q&A of the scheme itself and give you a bit of background. And that's it. So over to you.
Good morning. You can tell we're planned. I'm chairing, and then I looked at the others to see if they'd start speaking first. Yeah, but no, can I add thanks for you joining us when so many of you have taken the time when there are other things. As we know at REiiF, there's a lot of competing pressures, and I am actually actively resisting the urge to spin round on this chair. I've suddenly become 6 again. So if I do start spinning, somebody just give me a nod. No, it's a really exciting way to start the programme, the announcement that we're making today, and I'll hand over to Richard shortly. But no better place to make it than in the Pagabo Live. It sounds like some sort of music venue. Pagabo Live tent, in that it's a scheme that's been procured using the Pagabo framework, which we're real, as you would expect, real fans of, given the speed that it allows us to get engaged with partners, the kind of value for money, and the way that it puts partners together very, very early on to shape together what it is that we want to achieve, rather than perhaps some of the different procurement methods which tend to be done in silos, and then you come together and then you try and work out, rather like a marriage, whether you can make it work or not. I'll come out of that rabbit hole now, and I will hand over to Richard and then Alison to introduce themselves.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm Richard Henry. I'm the leader of Stevenage Borough Council. It's great to be here in Leeds, particularly as a lifelong Leeds fan. They're now back in the Premiership where they belong. So it's great to see everybody this morning. The Station Gateway project is one of the ambitions we've had in Stevenage for many years. We've got our town centre regeneration project underway now with Mace. We've had great support from the Stevenage Development Board and Hertfordshire Futures, which used to be Local Enterprise Partnership. I can see Adrian Hawkins in the room, who chairs both those bodies. The Station Gateway project is, for me, one of the great offers that we will do for the people of Stevenage and the businesses in that town. We'll hear more about the opportunities that it will create, both for opportunities for housing, for retail, for cultural and leisure, but also we're aiming to have a university campus as part of that development. So it's really exciting. So thank you very much, and I'll hopefully answer any questions that you may have later.
Good morning, Alison Crofton, Chief Property Officer at Homes England. I'm sitting here today on behalf of English Cities Fund, which is making the joint launch information today. Thank you.
And I'll do now what I should have done before, just shows how bad a chair I am. Thankfully, it's on the screen, but I'm Phil Mayall. I'm the Managing Director of Muse, and I'm also Director of English Cities Fund at the long-running partnership we have with Homes England and with Legal in General. I say long-running, we're into well past 20 years now, and we pride ourselves on working as a partnership, with proactive local authorities who've got a real clear idea of what they want to achieve. Which gives me a rather unplanned but helpful segue back to Richard. Richard, if I could ask you just to outline in a little bit more detail what it is that we're planning to do in and around the station. And I think if you could also maybe just then move on to what it's going to mean for the communities, because we tend to think about things in bricks and mortar and numbers, but ultimately it's the communities that we're trying to deliver something for. So if you could pick that up, please.
Yeah, certainly. Some of the opportunities that have arisen is that we're going to look at moving the station about, I think it's 50 yards further south. So the current station, which is, to be honest, not really fit for purpose in the 21st century, So it'll be a brand new station, and it's going to mixed-use regeneration up to 30.5 acres of land around the station, and it takes into its footprint some of the leisure park, which is just over the railway. So it'll bring that whole area into use. So we'll be looking at 1,100 homes, 40,000 square metres of employment space, 175 bed hotel, a higher education facility, and hopefully we'll be linking that to the enormous growth in life sciences that we've got in Stevenage. So to have a university campus looking at that, linking in with the schools, the STEM sector in Stevenage. So it'll be a real opportunity for our young people. New entertainment experiences, yet to be decided, but it's a real offer for both the people who live in Stevenage, the people that come into Stevenage to work, and for future residents in the town centre. We've got fantastic connections in Stevenage with the railways, the roads, but what we're looking to develop is a 21st century transport opportunity. And also, for those of you that have been to Stevenage, you will know that it isn't a concrete jungle, as the Guardian said a number of years ago, that there are so many green spaces, and as part of a new town, Britain's first new town, it was developed on a neighbourhood basis with green spaces in each of the neighbourhoods, and we'll continue to do that in this development too. So that's some of the opportunities that we're looking to on the Station Gateway project.
Brilliant, thank you. And of course, the government announced earlier this year that it has a real focus on delivering community and growth around hubs where people are well connected to opportunity, and about linking people with opportunity, which I think regeneration is all about. Alison, from an ECF perspective, how do you think we as a partnership can add value to the opportunity?
ECF is a placemaking partnership, and that's exactly where we see the opportunity at the Stevenage Gateway. We use a public-private partnership that maximises the efficiency of collaboration, uses the diversity of skills, and makes sure we really accelerate community and regeneration. I think this absolutely Stevenage Gateway is absolutely one that we would prioritise in our pipeline because of the strength of the council, the strength of their vision. ECF believe in a strong vision, we believe in comprehensive development and working with the place. And Stevenage local authority have that. They have the vision, they have the strength, and they have the support to run with us. So together combined, the public-private partnership skills of ECF and the strong leadership and vision of Stevenage Council, it makes for a really good project, and really to put the place first and to support the existing and hopefully bring in the new talent community.
That's great. And of course, as a partnership, we've got if you'll forgive the pun, we've got a track record of working around. See what I did? Energy levels are still high. We got a track record of working around in and around stations, just down the line from here is Wakefield Westgate, which we worked on for a number of years. In fact, we still have interest there as a partnership, and that involved moving the station further down the line to make it more accessible, make it more linked with then a new civic gateway, and bringing employment and new residential into a locality. Richard, how does the opportunity, because we naturally start a focus on a red line, but again I think regeneration is so much more than a red line. In fact, sometimes a red line can be a restricting factor rather than a defining factor. How will this impact the wider Stevenage community?
One of the things that we've been doing over the last few years is trying to regenerate the town centre itself, and we've had a couple of developments within the town centre which is demonstrating to our residents and our businesses that we're up for this, and the opportunity to do the Station Gateway. Once we get out into the public to get them to understand what we're trying to achieve, I think that'll be real for them, because at the moment they're seeing lots of cranes, lots of rubble turning into flats, and we do get knocked as a local authority because we're so close to London that we're building flats for Londoners. That's only part of the story. We are developing social and affordable housing for our residents, and developing skills and opportunities for our young people. So the whole picture is very complicated, and it's I work very closely with our comms team and the regen team in trying to get that message out that Stevenage is building things for residents as well as businesses, and some flats for Londoners.
Yeah, and it's about getting that balance between economic growth and opportunity, and I think if you can strike that balance, as we try to achieve on other ECF schemes around the country, then obviously you're into a winning formula. I touched on earlier, Alison, the government's view around development around stations and growth, and I appreciate, because I've been told this many times, that you deliver, don't set policy, asking you to put your Homes England hat on, but generally in terms of the government's outlook and its objectives, and we're all very clear, and I think I'll be carrying a bingo card around with me in terms of how many times I hear 1.5 million over the next 3 days. But we're all very clear on objectives. How does this fit overall in what the government and therefore the agencies, its delivery arm, are trying to achieve?
Yeah, there's a number of aspects that this specific project emanates and what we're trying to aim for. In terms of supply, it helps contribute 1,000 homes to the supply and helps generate the economic benefit of that housing. Housing generates so much economic benefit. I think the ONS recently announced that for every £1 that's spent in construction and real estate, it adds £2.84 to the general economy. So from the perspective of home supply, that's good quality, from the aspect of economic regeneration and regrowth, it answers those in bucket loads. I think, though, what is absolutely key, though, is that supply does not completely outweigh design and quality and community. And how we tackle that is place first. You have to respond to the place. You have to work with the place. It is for that place. And that is absolutely paramount in all discussions, in all decisions. And whether that's an economic decision, whether that's a design decision, or whether that's a decision about facilities, it's all about what that place requires. The whole idea is to create a great quality, visionary place that has comprehensive development, that will be a place to not only just survive but to thrive.
If I can pick up on that theme of place again, a word, thankfully, that I think you're going to hear a lot more over the next few days. I think it's a word that that's come more into prominence, thankfully, also along with social value in what we do. I think to your earlier point, Richard, what I think one of the things that we'll need to be really focused on very early is consultation. There are many different ways of doing development, but doing it with is far easier than doing it to. And if we can, if I can pinch a phrase from a relatively well-known lecturer and business writer, the power of the and is far better than the or. And if we can add to Stevenage, if we can add opportunity, if we can make connections, if we can be very, very clear at the outset what it's going to do for community first, then I tend to find in other places we've worked that they'll be far more welcoming of that and flats for Londoners point that you make. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we had the benefit of going up to Stockport and Salford and saw some of the work that you've done there, and what came across was the fantastic buildings that were all different offers, and the quality of the build and the quality of the internal design as well was amazing. And I think once we get that over to our residents and our businesses, the quality of what we're offering will be very well accepted.
Thank you, and top marks for referencing other schemes that we've done, Richard. Can you come again? I mean, but on that, I think what's really for those of you who don't know, the Salford scheme referring to in particular, we've been involved in for 18 years or so. Huge scheme, mixed use scheme, and that was really about place and bringing communities with us, along with us, so that the benefits flow through. Alison, I think I'm right in saying that over the last few years, there's been a real focus in the agency of, maybe it's a bit too strong a phrase to use, but identifying those local authorities who you can work in partnership with, who you can deliver with. By all means, flatter Richard, but on a broader sense, is that accurate? Is that the direction of travel for the agency?
Yeah, Homes England is always open to opportunities, but we can't be in all places at the same time in order to give the right service. So we're very clear. We will work with people that have strong leadership, strong vision, and know their priorities. We work with people that come to us and say, these are our 3 priorities that we have to deliver over X amount of time, and this is what we need. And then we can therefore then say, well, actually, out of those 3 priorities, we can help with this, or we can help with that, and these are the ways that we'll do it. Is that acceptable to you? So it's absolutely paramount that we work with people that know the direction they're going, and are willing to roll up their sleeves along with us. And yeah, we're absolutely open to work, but we must make sure that we do it together, and it's not just one relying on the other.
Yeah, I was just going to say 2 things on that, really. One is that as a cooperative council, we're very much into communication and collaboration with the community. Because obviously our legacy is going to be the place when we give up politics. I've got a very strong cabinet who are very supportive of what we're doing. So politically, we're very strong, as you've alluded to. So I think, in 5-10 years' time, what we've left for the next generation of residents and politicians will be, a better place.
Yeah, and I think we tend to rightly focus on the legacy side of it. I think what's important with schemes of this type that will be a long time in delivery, because of the scale, not for any other reason, is that they also remain in a state of flux. The idea that towns and cities reach a fixed state is clearly false, because we've been, that's why regeneration exists, because things regenerate. So having that in mind, that how do we improve and how do we leave things better for the community when we've finished, but also keeping in very forefront of our minds as we're going down the delivery path that we're not rigid in, well, that's what the master plan said, that's what we're going to do. And that's where that community feedback is really, 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 really powerful.
Yeah, I was just going to say as well, the New Towns Task Force are very interested in, obviously as Britain's first new town, Stevenage, and so they're coming to see what we've learned and what we're carrying on doing. So when they look at either urban extensions in current towns or brand new towns, they will have taken the learning from us as well as other towns in the country.
That's fantastic. I'm conscious that we've done all of the talking so far. I don't know whether we've got a spare mic. We have. Look at that. It's almost like we planned it. If there are any questions, we're more than happy as a panel to pick those up. Come on, energy levels are still high, and if I'm being completely honest, I've run out of questions. So I'll be on to asking the panel their favourite jam next. So if you're interested in that, I'll ask the question. If not, no, I won't. Don't worry. Has anybody got any questions you'd like to ask? Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much, and congratulations on such an ambitious project. Can you just talk about timing in terms of what are your sort of aspirations in terms of how long this may take?
Well, hopefully in the next couple of years. I mean, seriously, I think it's like a 10-15 year project, and obviously I haven't heard the word yet, so I'll mention it first. LGR, Local Government Reorganisation. But I'm committed, along with my cabinet and the senior leadership team of Stevenage, to carry on with this ambition, so that whatever happens after local government reorganisation, we'll be delivering on the Station Gateway project. But yeah, 10-15 years.
I think what's really important in regeneration is that, as Phil alluded to earlier, it can take 10, 15, 20 years to actually kind of get to the end product. But what's really important is to make a start so that the local community believe in that vision, and they believe that it's going to come. So small steps, although it won't be, a new station straight away, but as long as they believe and they see the progress being made, I think that's absolutely vitally important, because then it starts to bring in the conversation. It makes liaison with the community much easier if they believe in that. So I think that's the absolute key in terms of the Station Gateway area.
It is. It's a really good question, because you kind of focus on the length of time, but actually the really, really important bit, once you get the momentum and once people start to see those cranes, it becomes so much easier in perception terms, because it's happening. You referenced the Salford scheme. We spent so long having to do the things that the community don't see, the CPO stuff, the master planning. Obviously there's engagement there, but what we're very keen to do is also to leverage in as many short-term immediate improvements as we could. So we worked with this was pre local government cuts, so we worked with the streets department to make sure the streets were cleaned, that the graffiti was removed, that if there was a pot of money ready, we'd already done design work for small pocket parks and taking down barbed wire from legacy of antisocial behaviour and removing fences, and all those small things make such a big difference before you do the bricks and mortar, before you do the four walls and the proverbial roof. So 10 to 15 years, but the sooner we can make those, the impact on what the person walking past it in the street will notice, the sooner we start to win confidence and hearts and minds, I think. Any more questions? Oh, we got one there and then.
Hi, Dave Wells, Stevenage Borough Council. So I have a vested interest. But one for you really, Phil, just building on some of your experiences elsewhere around infrastructure projects and places like Stockport, I just wondered if there's a particular lesson you've learned where you're dealing with people like UK or the rail networks, and is there anything that brings to Stevenage, that experience, any particular lesson there?
Yeah, I think so. We've worked alongside and to a lot of railways, transport hubs, infrastructure projects. Lesson number one is, and I know this sounds simple, but so many fall foul of it, Network Rail's number one interest is rail safety. So there's no point coming up with a whiz-bang design if it has any impact whatsoever. So you start there, you respect that there's the grit processes and everything else that you need to go through. You respect it. You can't shortcut it, because the rail industry is set up to ensure it's safety first, as it should be. So you work alongside that, and then you show the benefits. You don't show the benefits and then say, can we change your infrastructure? You've got to respect the infrastructure first. That's the first thing I'd say. The other is that you need to understand that to the layman, as I class myself in these things, what might make sense doesn't. So if you think that you're going to extend a platform, that automatically means the timetable will be changed to accommodate the trains, you are sadly mistaken, because the two things don't talk directly to one another. Of course, the timetable can't be changed until the station's resolved, but you need to do the station first and then say, oh look, could the timetable be amended, because the two don't work in sync. So things like that you need to be aware of. The third one is, I would give this message to any local authority or any other developer, is you have to hold your nerve, because you need to do the design work without knowing that the funding and the ability to deliver is there. Most of what we've delivered in the last 20 years or so, we started the design and the funding package has not been known. So whether it's in residential, whether it was Get Britain Building, or whether it was pinch point funding to change road junctions, the design was ready and the funding pot came, not, oh, there's a funding pot, so we'll do the design. And the local authorities and the partnerships that go, look, we believe in this, so we will invest together and we will get ready, and then we'll make sure that we can deliver as and when it's possible, are the ones that are at the front of the queue. And we see that more and more, and hopefully we'll move away from a world where we've been in recent times of expression of interest in September, on site in March, and then we end up with a load of things that don't happen, that there is a longer term gestation period. But in any event, design, believe, be ready, and then be ready to commit. Those are the piece of advice I give, Alison.
And I think it's exactly that answer there why ECF as a partnership absolutely works for this project, because you have the technical expertise and the experience of the regeneration specialist of Muse. You have Homes England, who have the funding and also the capability across the soft powers across government. And then you have Legal and General, who have the asset and experience of the investment. And it's exactly why this project works with ECF, and exactly why ECF is the right partner for this project.
Yeah, and I think, you alluded to earlier on about having the political will of the council. And, we demonstrated our ambitions 10, 15 years ago when we invested in a regen team, we invested in a planning team, we invested in housing development team, so that when the opportunities come along, we're ready to go. And that was demonstrated when we had Autolus looking at building their European headquarters. It could have been somewhere in Europe. It ended up in Stevenage because I think the planning took, it was about eight months. And one of my colleagues I was talking to said, it would take them 2 years to do that. So we're demonstrating that we're up for this.
That last bit I'd add is, I remember as a kid, my mum used to say, money always goes to money. And that was a rather jealous view of life, I have to say, she would admit now. But actually, in this sense, in regeneration, it's true. Once you've done a piece of infrastructure and you've proved delivery, it's easier to get the next piece, and it's easier to get the next piece. But it's having that commitment up front and being able to show partners across, not just the public, but the private sector, that the tools are there and ready. Because everyone wants results. But you've got to take the risk up front to generate the conditions for the results, and then like a lot of things, there are a lot of so many people are the authors of success, aren't they? When success happens, great, that's fantastic. I think we had another question.
Thank you. Amazing talk, really interesting, and really excited about any station-related developments. In particular, nobody mentioned life sciences, and I know that Stevenage is really becoming quite a hub for life sciences. Is that something that you're thinking about in terms of the mixed-use master plan?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. For those that don't know, Stevenage is the largest life sciences cell and gene therapy cluster in the world, apart from 2 in America. So, and that's looking to build on that. We've got a £900 million plan for a new science park over at GlaxoSmithKline, and the Elevate Quarter. Thank you, Ross. Elevate Quarter, as part of the Stevenage Town Centre, we're looking for 3 or 4 new lab spaces there, as well as retail and leisure and culture offer. So very much life sciences is a growing aspiration in Stevenage. We signed off our skills framework, which is part of our corporate plan now, and that's working with schools and the college and the university to try and bring that university campus into town, so that there's a whole supply chain for our young people to get into the life sciences and the STEM sector and advanced manufacturing. So all the things that we've got in Stevenage, we're trying to get our young people to have an aspiration to work in, so that there's not so many people coming in and out of Stevenage, they're coming from Stevenage.
I think that's what's really exciting from an ECF perspective, is how in the past some of these things, and I'm going to generalise, but in the past some of these things have been done in silos. So you've got life sciences, full stop, and you end up with a situation where a place rapidly runs out of its own resource in terms of its people, and then you are pulling in from outside, and that's fine in the sense of it builds a community. But what can we do as a partnership to make sure that we're leveraging absolutely all the benefits of that? Because if you think about it as a prospective partner, what would it cost us to have those conditions in place? I mean, it's infinite, isn't it? Well, the opportunity's there. It's the biggest location for life science use. Right, okay, how do we really leverage that for the community, and how do we provide the right range and mix of tenure of housing so everyone's got the opportunity? How can we make sure that graduates leaving or students leaving Stevenage when they've graduated come back. And it's not just come back to work but live somewhere else, come back and aspire to come back and live in Stevenage. And if we don't create that social infrastructure, and that's what housing is, it's social infrastructure. If we don't create that, then great. All the posters will refer to Stevenage's prominence as a life sciences location, but we've kind of missed the opportunity, and I think that's what's exciting.
Yeah, and obviously you do need the white coats and the PhDs, but you also need the infrastructure behind that. You need the people that work in the whole of the sector and the logistics and everything. And so life sciences and advanced manufacturing isn't just that small percentage of professors and scientists. It's the whole range of employment opportunities.
I commute from Stevenage Station most days, and I see this wealth of young talent coming into the station, queuing up for their minibuses to take them out, and it would just be a great success, I think, of the project to actually not see those minibuses queuing up in the morning, but actually see those people just walking from where they live to where they're going to work. And I think that's exactly what excites ECF about this project. And I think that's one of the, from a personal perspective, one of the most successful outcomes. If we can create that, I just think it would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and using our cycle network as well.
Of course. Any more questions? Yeah, I think we're reaching the point where... Mr. Farrell.
Hi. A question for Councillor Henry. Obviously, Stevenage, the location is strategically very well placed in terms of being within that corridor of sort of London to Cambridge, and also sort of proximity to Luton as well in terms of airport connectivity and so on. But and that it's called the innovation corridor, isn't it? The UK innovation corridor, and at either end are these innovation districts. Does Stevenage have aspirations to become designated as an innovation district, given all the different types of businesses that you have there and the mix of, with aerospace and life sciences and so on?
Well, I'd like to say we are an innovation district. Obviously, you're alluding to both the life sciences and the advanced manufacturing. We're in the centre of the golden triangle of Oxford, Cambridge and London in terms of life sciences, so we're really well placed in that. But also the advanced manufacturing that we've got in Stevenage, they're starting to collaborate where it makes sense, so that's a growing sector as well. Whether we become a designated innovation centre, I'm not sure, but I think we're well on track, forgive the pun again, to be, have that designation as and when.
Any more questions? No? I think we've reached the point where everyone's ready for the next coffee, and then look at the programmes, look at the maps, and go wandering off to the next big event. Well, listen, thank you again, everybody, for joining us on this first session of REiiF. If I can just finish by asking you to thank my fellow panellists and also Pagabo for hosting us this morning. See, there you go. Got that one in. Thank you very much. Thank you.